Now, Malinovskyi! Oh, yes! Ruslan Malinovskyi, his first goal in 25 league matches, is a beauty.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode 101, and we're your hosts, Matt
and Jake. Our goal of the week this week was Malinovskyi's rocket. Close contender was Candreva's rocket. Two fantastic goals, of course. Candreva, there was a bit of a goalkeeping blunder over there as well, I would say. Granted, it had quite the spin on it, and he has a great technique when it comes to shooting, Candreva. But Malinovskyi's, I think, takes the cake because it was such a clean strike.
Yeah, it was absolutely unstoppable. I think when someone describes an unstoppable strike, Malinovskyi's goal is what they would imagine. I wouldn't say it was a blunder by the keeper in Candreva's goal. I think that kind of knuckle shot, it's hard to tell where the ball is going, and with that power the reaction time is limited, but you could say it was stoppable in that sense, you know what I mean, even though it's very difficult. So Malinovskyi takes the cake.
Yeah, we had a few other honorable mentions. Of course, Malinovskyi's and Candreva's were the best, but then there were Udon's goal, Soule's goal, Dybala, El Shaarawy and Zirkzee. They all scored great goals too.
Yeah, but the two we mentioned before will probably be in the top 10 goals of the season. That's the difference between them. Don't forget to follow us, guys, on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter and YouTube as well. Don't forget to drop us a follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, we just saw the analytics of our Spotify Wrapped, and it was interesting to see that 116 of you had us as their number one podcast of 2023, and we were in the top 5 for 408 people and in the top 10 for 579. These numbers are great. We didn't expect this, so thank you very much, guys. And if we featured in your top 5, your top 10 or your top 1, please do send it over. We'd love to see who the real ones are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what growth looks like, brother.
Exactly, bro. That's exactly what it is. I want to shout out our patrons as well, something we're going to start doing. The family has grown. Our newest patron, David Mastro Battista, has joined.
God.
That's one hell of a name.
I'm not quite sure what it means. There are like 5 different things I could say. Mastro Battista.
Yeah, what do you think it sounds like? Maybe?
I mean, masturbates is the first one that comes to mind. Like and a master of masturbating.
And the WWE guy, Battista.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Maestro Battista. Our patrons, shout out to you guys. There's Mintoff, Mike, Luca, Alan, Andy, Matthias, Edward, Theo, Lena, Tonna, and Anthony. Thank you very much for your continuous support, guys.
This match day, guys, had some great matches, some big matches, including Derby d'Italia, Milan, Fiorentina, Atalanta, Napoli. There were great goals, as like the ones we mentioned before. Goals against exes. We saw Pinamonti, we saw Caputo, we saw Candreva as well. That was a goal against Lazio. Men wearing lipstick, obviously, in the campaign against domestic violence, something that hopefully all our listeners can campaign about.
Did you see the social media posts by the official Serie A page?
I don't think I did.
Oh, come on, you must have, bro, with the red label on the picture. So there's a picture of the team, or like Lautaro and Thuram celebrating, for example. It's like highest goals scored, most assists, right? And then at the bottom in red, it's like 160 women killed so far. I go for the picture and there's like Lautaro and Thuram celebrating. Or the Frosinone team, and it's like rapes have been committed. It's like, come on, dude, this is really the best approach.
Maybe not. Things to learn from, I guess. We also had some young stars entering the fray. We had some young goal scorers, but particularly Camarda became the youngest player to ever feature in a Serie A match. Age just 15, turning 16 in around 4 months. Great to see young Italian talent, particularly up front. And we also had some great upsets as well.
Yeah, it's been an action-packed weekend, to be honest. Catching up on everything was enjoyable, but long.
Especially for me now that I'm back. This was my first jam-packed weekend since I've been back.
How do you feel?
Oh, great, man. So Jake and I are living separately nowadays, so I was pretty much over for the majority of the weekend watching football, so that was cool.
Very nice. It's nice having you over, bro. Not nice having to cook for you and clean up after you, but that's okay.
Don't worry. The tide will turn soon.
What did you watch Saturday 3:00? I was watching Genoa, and I was close to regretting it, to be honest, because the other game was an absolute cracker. But there was Malinovskyi's goal, so you can't really regret that.
Yeah, that was a good game as well, man. I was watching Sassuolo, Empoli, in and out because I was doing some chores around, but the second all those goals started taking place, and obviously I got intrigued, I got interested.
You're there with the laundry basket, and he's like, Sule!
Sule, not for Empoli or Sassuolo. Yeah.
But Frosinone, that's my bad.
Yeah. So here's the rundown of the week for all you commuters needing to know exactly what happened in Serie A this weekend, and it's also the order in which we will be discussing these matches. So we'll start obviously with the Derby d'Italia. It was Juve 1, Inter 1. It was Vlahovic who opened the scoring, but Lautaro Martinez managed to get one back in the first half. For Inter to get the draw over there. Atalanta 1, Napoli 2. It was Mazzarri's first game for Napoli, and it was a tough challenge away to Atalanta, but they did a spectacular job to get the victory over there. It was Milan 1, Fiorentina 0 in the third game we'll be covering. Just a singular Theo penalty. Quite a decimated squad for Milan, with Giroud out suspended as well, but a solid win over there for them. The fourth game is Empoli 3, Sassuolo 4. This has to be the game of the weekend worldwide. Just, two teams that were at each other's throats the entire time, so much so that they both forgot how to defend. Salernitana 2, Lazio 1. That is our upset of the week, and what a showing it was by Salernitana, Pippo Inzaghi's side, to get back into the game. Roma 3, Udinese 1. There was a scare for Roma when Udinese equalised, but great football by Roma in order to get that over the line. Great goal by Dybala, great goal by El Shaarawy. Bologna 2, Torino 0. Torino were strong in the first half, particularly defensively, but Bologna are just on such hot form right now. I believe it's 3 wins in their last 4 games. Verona 2, Lecce 2, and what was a very competitive game between two very similar sides when you think about quality at the moment. Frosinone 2, Genoa 1. A couple injuries for Genoa, but take nothing away from Frosinone's performance. And Cagliari 1, Monza 1 is the last game that we're going to be covering.
Yep. That's the rundown. That's the menu for today, and I think we should jump straight into it, bro, with the Derby d'Italia.
Yes, Juve 1, Inter 1. The Derby d'Italia, obviously, some might say it's the biggest game in Italy. I think there are more exciting derbies, more heated derbies, but these two sides really do put on a show against each other. Only 2 points separated these sides coming into the Derby d'Italia, with Inter in first place and Juventus in second place. Couple injuries. Inter had Bastoni and Pavard out injured, so their back three consisted of Acerbi, De Vrij and Darmian, but they were otherwise at full strength. Whilst Rugani had to start at centre-back for Juve due to Danilo's injury, and Caviglia also started the game in the centre of midfield because of Locatelli's cracked rib, but he still did feature off the bench. Juve also had Wea out injured, so Cambiaso started on the right and Kostic on the left. And in case you guys are wondering who the fuck is Caviglia, he's also known as Nicolosi.
Yeah, he was on loan at Salernitana last season, where he played 6 games and scored 1 goal.
There you go, Mr. Stats man.
Hell yeah. And this was his first start, fun fact, in the Derby d'Italia.
Yeah.
Allegri's really changed in that department. He never used to trust young players this much.
And this was more of a choice because Locatelli with his cracked rib, okay, you ideally wouldn't give him a full match, but he could have taken him off. But it took balls to start Nicolosi.
Especially when there's Miretti as well on the bench, who he's been playing more. So now he just randomly showed faith in a player that he had never showed faith in before. And how do you think he performed, in your opinion, Nicolosi? Because I've heard mixed things.
Yeah, so I've heard mixed things, particularly what I've heard from Juve fans is sheer disappointment. I was on one of Juve's fan blogs and he got rated a 4. They did make it clear that it's through no fault of his own, but it's due to the fact that he was tossed into the deep end. Look, I think his performance was he a step behind, perhaps? But I think it was almost unrealizable that he was the new face within that team. I think he had quite a clean performance in that sense. It was barely noticeable in the game, which goes to show that he definitely didn't have a terrible showing.
Absolutely, that's it. When you're playing center mid like that, Granted, Inter were overrunning Juve most of the time, but that's because they were up against the three-man midfield of Barella, Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan.
Yeah.
And not to mention that you have Darmian charging up or Acerbi charging up, to join the midfield and the attack. They tend to do that in this Inter system. The fact that he didn't stand out, Caviglia, is a very good sign. The fact that you don't realize he's there, the fact that means that he was doing the simple things right, without fucking up too much. He did lose the ball a few times. He made a few clumsy mistakes, but of course, when you get your first start on a stage like this, it's almost expected. And I wouldn't be too disappointed with his performance at all.
Yeah. Just going to go through the rundown of what went on in this game. Chiesa could have done better in the 15th minute as his shot from inside the area went just over Sommer's post, but he had time and space. Çalhanoğlu took a rather hopeful strike moments later that somehow managed to make its way into the highlight reel. But in the 26th minute, Juve drew first blood through Vlahovic. He finished cleanly after a Chiesa square ball. It was the Serbian who started the attack as he dispossessed Dumfries in quite a dangerous area before out-muscling him and finding Chiesa, receiving the return pass and finishing cleanly. He needs to relax, Vlahovic. I don't know what he was doing with the celebration. Yes, it's a goal in the Derby d'Italia, but brother, 4 celebrations in one, seriously,
and they're all a specific type of celebration.
Very cocky. Very, I can't hear you. Shh, I'm right here. I'm staying here. Shush, I can't hear you. Yep, that's me. It's brother, this is what you should have been doing the entire time. I'm the first one to campaign in favor of Vlahovic and criticize Allegri's system for not playing to one of the greatest strikers in the league's strengths.
Yeah.
But when you're not scoring goals and then you finally get one, be humble about it and focus on proving critics wrong through having a good season and not scoring one goal in the Derby d'Italia. But sure, whatever.
Yeah, that's hilarious. It was spamming Fortnite dancing.
Literally. Just 6 minutes later, Lautaro equalized after a low cross by Thuram. He finished very well into the far corner. It was great build-up play by Inter as well. Quite similar goals, if you ask me. Both came through a square pass, to be fair. Thuram should have done better after the restart when scuffing the ball straight at Szczesny after a smart Nicolo Barella backheel flick. And then Henrik Mkhitaryan pulled it back from the byline. But Thuram couldn't do any better than that. The second half and then was characterized by a lack of clear goal scoring opportunities. You start seeing Juve getting a bit more cautious. Inter maybe not being that free flowing. In fact, if you look at the XG recorded in this game, it's quite low for both teams. Juan Cuadrado came on against his former club later on, and there were multiple jeers and insulting chants, obviously being a former Juventus player going to their rivals. But it was overall basically a much scrappier second half with long periods of Inter possession and very little to show for it.
The thing is that Juve, it was clear what they were trying to do, right? They were happy with the draw and they were playing for it. What surprised me is that Inter seemed happy as well with it. I don't know if it's because it's early on in the season, but I feel like if this game were to take place at a later stage in the season, let's say match day 32, for example, the second half would have been very different.
Yeah.
You'd have seen Inter all over this Juve side. But in reality, neither team really wanted to lose, and that's what contributed to the draw.
Look, I think it's smart by both sides to take that approach. I mean, if you look at this is match day 13. You know what I mean? Both of them understand that, yes, there's 2 points between them, but there's also 24 games or 25 games left to be played as well. So you can't get carried away and pile all men forward because you need a victory to cut the deficit and go first, or you need a victory to extend your advantage, you know. So in my opinion, well played by both managers. I think it was a mature move by both of them. What that has done, however, this stalemate, it has allowed Milan and Napoli to take advantage, who both won the game and they both edge closer to the top two.
That's totally the case. I had a question for you about player performance, brother. So one of the best right wing backs / right backs, whatever, in the league so far this season has been Denzel Dumfries, right?
Yeah,
he's been one of the best.
For sure.
However, in these games against big teams, I feel like he's not technically to standard.
Like he made the mistake in this game that led to the goal.
Oh yeah, he made the mistake exactly, and then it's just the fact his touch, man. Oh my god, not great, huh?
No, I think that he's been there a while now. You know what I mean? He should really settle into.
But he's always been this type of player, bro. Like even with the Netherlands, I remember a pundit had said once, like, whoever the fool is who falls for this Dumfries Euro campaign and like splashes money on him to sign him, I'm gonna feel terribly sorry for him. And it was Inter, in fact, who splashed the cash on Denzel Dumfries. He's good, he's serviceable, he's deployable, you can play him, and athletically he's better than most players. He's a freak when it comes to his athleticism. He's a big guy, he's strong, he's quick, he's a savage to play against. He's a very tough opponent. But then technically I don't think he's, like, you compare his technique to DeMarco's technique on the other end, him and DeMarco are complete opposites. You see, DeMarco, who physically isn't going to outpace his man.
Yeah.
He's
in
not
fact,
going to
you see him in a back
man.
four for Italy and he struggles a bit. DeMarco.
They're polar opposites.
Yeah, but what are Inter good at? If you look at historically in the past decade, they are good at making good/average players great at wingbacks. At playing wingback, Inter managed to get the best out of players. Now maybe Dumfries, his qualities show more in the role that he is playing, particularly because a large portion of his role is bombing up and down that right flank. If you see him defensively, and then if you were to single out his defensive duties, it's nothing to write home about. If you were to single out his offensive duties and his capabilities, nothing to write home about either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So really, it's his industry. It's his tackling. It's his mind games. Like you see him, his athleticism, absolutely. But I don't think he's a particularly stellar player. I think just Inter are very good at getting the best out of these wingbacks.
Yeah, fair enough. They have quite a few players in this team who are just purely solid, no nonsense, solid, strong, physically able, and they can do a lot of damage. And sometimes they're so tough. Most of the time, they're so tough to score against.
Yeah. Did you know that Juve have maintained a positive record against Inter in their recent 12 Serie A encounters? Juve haven't lost to Inter in the past 12 Serie A games.
Well, they've got their number, huh?
In the league, at least.
In the league, yeah.
You see them in the Coppa Italia, Inter tend to get the best of them, but that's Inter's trophy, apparently, nowadays.
That's interesting. That means that Allegri's got these guys figured out. Not many people do, but to be fair...
Especially not Milan, man.
Inter definitely aren't unbeatable. You know, they have had games where you think, like, at the end of the game, the other team could have turned it around, or they were unlucky not to get anything over there.
Especially cometh January, February.
Yeah, and especially now that they're actually experiencing injuries for the first time in their history.
Yeah, pretty
much. They've got Pavard out, they've got Bastoni out, so it's a very good thing that they got ahead in the Champions League, because they're fully rotating their squad for tonight. I don't know if you saw, they're starting Bissek, Arnautovic and Sanchez up front together, Aslani in the middle, there's Carlos Augusto out wide. He's resting everyone.
Jesus Christ.
And that's what you get when you build a healthy advantage. And Milan, on the other hand, failed to secure 2 games where they were totally dominant in the Champions League against Dortmund and Newcastle. And then had all the pressure in the world to upset Dortmund at home, granted, but with a very depleted squad.
Decimated, man.
Yeah.
Krunic centre back, but anyway, that's not what we're talking about. Here, Inter had 65% ball possession and 8 shots. Juve had 4 shots and seemed to prioritize the draw, as we mentioned, and Inter were just happy to play the ball around. Not the most exciting Derby d'Italias that I've seen. The first like half an hour was great. We saw 2 goals and all that. But after that, a little bit disappointing, I would say. No real ambition from either team.
It was a chess match. Almost. It was a chess match when the game was actually being played, and in between it was both teams almost wasting time and killing the game.
Yeah, exactly.
At one point you see Inzaghi, the Inter coach, getting the ball. And he just holds on to it and he lags and he zones out and he's holding the ball, and the player had to actually walk up and take it out of his hands. And that's never what he's like. He's always throwing the ball back to them. Come on, let's get going. Come on. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But that wasn't the case. Clearly, again, a draw was the priority over here. Not losing was the priority, I would say.
Yeah. I have some player performances to highlight, particularly from Inter, because we did see them with much more of the ball. I can't tell you much about Juve player performances, genuinely. But from an Inter perspective, I thought Acerbi was excellent. He was the center of Inter's possession for some reason, not only defensively, but with the ball at his feet. He had a touch total of 138. And he also gave 122 passes with 94% accuracy, including 5 accurate long balls. These are all team highs.
Yeah.
So he broke records in this performance for all those stats.
Think about it. He's filling in the shoes of Bastoni playing on that left side. So he is technically the playmaker from the back. And he's against a team like Juventus, who like to sit deep. So he's got all the time in the world to take those touches in his half and ping the ball around and pass and advance and receive the ball deep again, try to pass, turn the play,
Yeah.
So yeah, and it makes sense. And if you look at Darmian and De Vrij as well, their stats were high, their possession stats too.
Yeah.
It's all about the defenders.
Inzaghi was like, right click on Acerbi, roll, ball playing defender.
There we go.
That's what he did. De Vrij, he was rock solid at the back in this game, and De Vrij had seemed to kind of like fallen off a little bit over the past 2-3 years, but he was rock solid in this game. He tallied the second most touches for Inter with 110, and he went 101 out of 103 on passes, including 3 accurate long balls. He made 3 clearances and 2 interceptions defensively, which was key because, in a game of fine margins and a game of a small amount of goals, all these moments count.
Of course, yeah. I thought it was a clever game all round, man. For example, even double teaming DiMarco really stopped Inter from advancing. The fact that every time DiMarco got the ball, he was with his back towards goal. Mm-hmm. He had to always pass back because you know what he can do. If you give DiMarco time and space, he will punish you. And they didn't. They barely gave him time to think about a cross. His crosses were often overhit for that reason.
Yeah, in fact, DiMarco, he didn't have the best outing. He lost possession 12 times. And he also lost 6 out of 10 duels. He made up for it with 2 key passes and 3 accurate long balls. But other than that, again, quite a quiet showing for him. Because Allegri just understands, like, look, this is the guy, this is the playmaker, this is the metronome. It's not Barella. He didn't have a great game in this match either. It's not Mkhitaryan, it's not Çalhanoğlu. All these guys were quiet. It was the defensive players that were really getting forward. And trying to create something. They were at the center of Inter's team.
I thought Çalhanoğlu was very good, to be fair, though, this game. I thought he was
defensively
super,
or
in general, just his role in this regista position, man. He's really, really, really getting used to it. Like, and I wouldn't even say he's getting. I would say he's got used to it, and he's nailing it. Right.
In fact, like I wouldn't put so much praise towards him for this performance, but in the number 6 role, he has really grown and he's looked solid, particularly over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you think that it is fair to say that this was a clash between Serie A's 2 best teams?
I would say so at the moment. Trying to think of who else there is, but you see some of the top teams struggling right now. Lazio, obviously, with their most recent loss to Salernitana. Napoli had a little bit of a dip before this victory against Atalanta. Milan having their own struggles. Roma are up and coming now after a slow start, but I would say Inter and Juve are definitely the most consistent teams in the league.
Yeah. Fair enough, yes, the most consistent and the title favourites at this stage. Granted, if you put the likes of Napoli or a fully fit Milan, you'll get better football. Yeah. You'll get more entertaining football, more than Juve at least. Mm-hmm. But yeah, these 2 teams have been the consistent teams this season, and they're up there for a reason.
Yep. Inter are first with 32 points. Juve just behind them, 2 points behind them in second on 30 points. Milan and Napoli are looming. Milan are 6 points behind the league leaders, while Napoli are 8 points behind the league leaders.
Yeah, we can move on to Atalanta 1, Napoli 2. This was Walter Mazzarri's first game back at Napoli. This isn't his first rodeo, of course, at Napoli. He was there back in the day when they had Cavani, Hamsik, Lavezzi. Yeah, those guys. So welcome back, Mazzarri. He's loved over there, and you can tell that there was a positive atmosphere to have him back. And there was even a clip with Kvaratskhelia kissing him on the cheek. And you think to yourself, wow, these guys have been training together for a week and the players are already kissing him on the cheek.
What's going to happen by Matchday 30?
Exactly. What are we going to see then? When it comes to lineups, it was a 3-4-1-2 formation for Gianpiero Gasperini. This time he went for Carnesecchi in goal instead of Musso, who ended up making a costly error at the end of the game to lose them the game. The back three was the same as usual. What was interesting was Bakker started on the left and Scamacca was only fit enough to make the bench, while Pasalic featured in the middle, playing behind Coop Miners and alongside Ederson. For Napoli, it was Gollini in goal. This is the first time Walter Mazzarri chose a starting 11, so I'm going to read it out.
Yeah.
Okay, we had Gollini in goal. It was a 4-3-3, something that Mazzarri isn't too familiar with.
He's used to the 3 at the back system, which is what he had done with Napoli in his previous showing for them.
Yeah, Oliveira played instead of the injured Mario Rui, and Oliveira fell injured himself and had to be replaced by Juan Jesus. Nathan, Rahmani and Di Lorenzo were also at the back with Zielinski, Lobotka and Anguissa. Standard business as usual in the middle with Politano on the right, Kvaratskhelia on the left and Raspadori up front. It's the same thing, to be honest, as usual. Osimhen was only fit enough for the bench. And an interesting observation was that when he came on, he wasn't wearing his mask.
Strange, man. Like, I'm sure the doctor would have told him there's a certain amount of time until he can take it off, and I'm sure he respected that, and that's what he did. But like, I thought we'd see him with it forever, the same way we saw Petr Cech with his helmet forever.
Honestly, it's almost disappointing to see him without it. You know, he looked like a superhero with that mask, you know, and the yellow hair.
I did forget that he's a rather handsome man, Victor Osimhen. I forgot that since he had the mask on.
Yeah. I mean, with the mask, he just looks formidable, you know, he looks intimidating. And that's usually better when it comes to football. So it started off in the 33rd minute. Rahmani scored a nice header after a peach of a ball by Raspadori. However, VAR intervened and it was cancelled and ruled off for offside.
The most marginal offside in a while, like, man.
Since Keane's, I would say. Keane's obviously takes the cake because that was unreal. It was interesting to see Kvaratskhelia triple-manned on many occasions. That was a bit overkill, I thought, but pure Gasperini fashion, that is. Kvaratskhelia scored a header to open the scoring in the 44th minute. Di Lorenzo was left totally unpressed and Kvaratskhelia was left unmarked. And I didn't think he could head the ball that well, but there we go.
I believe he scored a header on his debut, if I'm not mistaken, or was it his second goal? I think it was his second goal.
One of his opening goals in the league
I think it was his second goal.
Good point, yeah. And then that screamer against Monza, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, then Lookman scored a header afterwards, you know, another player who I didn't think had that in his locker. Hans Hattebe played him the ball and Lookman just headed it in. And then in the 79th minute, there was a massive mistake by Carnesecchi, who played the ball straight to a Napoli midfielder. And they slowly worked their way to Victor Osimhen, who squared it to Elmas, who tapped it in. And that was enough to be the winning goal. Personally, bro, so we start off, I haven't quite liked Bakker as well. He's been kind of slow to settle. And Gasperini did say that all the new signings are settling well. This was still in pre-season. He said, except for Bakker, who's still very behind. And it's clear. And at halftime, he did take him out and he brought on Ruggieri. I just wonder what the logic was in actually starting Bakker instead of Ruggieri, who's having a pretty good season.
I would personally, like you're saying, I would personally firstly start Ruggieri, because what a young local talent to have in a left wing back role, and he's had good showings over there. But you know Gasperini, he likes to change things around, and you also know Gasperini, he likes to throw his players under the bus every now and then. Does that have anything to do with how Bakker is settling? Maybe. Not every player has the same kind of means of motivation. So if Gasperini, if he was in his head about taking a while to settle and then Gasperini makes that public, it's like, okay, it's common knowledge now, so just something in the training camp. So could that possibly be something that is on Bakker's mind. Keep in mind, these are human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah. And to be honest, bro, honestly, sometimes if it's not going well for a player, just play him.
I guess.
You know, he might find his footing. He might have a moment that gives him confidence in a game, and it might change his entire trajectory of his season round. But yeah, I wasn't impressed at all. The backer that we saw clips of before looked a lot more exciting than this version of backer that we got. But of course, it's still early days. He's new to the league, and he needs some time to settle. Maybe season 2 for him in Serie A will be his breakout season. We'll see. Plenty of time left for Bakker. Of course, the talking point, the main talking point that I should have started with instead of Bakker, but I want to talk about Bakker immediately, bro. Is Mazzarri's Napoli? What's different? What's the same? So I have an observation before we start. The team is very similar. When it comes to the front three, in this case, Kvaratskhelia, Raspadori, and Politano, they had a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
A lot of freedom. The only two differences I noticed, which are massive differences, right, was Napoli were tighter.
Mm-hmm.
The players were closer together.
They're gonna be, bro.
And they're gonna be tighter, right? You look at Rudy Garcia's Napoli, I felt like sometimes there was a bit too much space between the players, and they lost the fluidity. And for example, Lobotka couldn't thrive as he usually does in that pivot, because usually he has players very close to him that he can play to, you know, in Spalletti's system. With Rudy, he was a little bit isolated there in the middle. But now they're tight again. And defensively, I don't know if it was just a one-off, but they looked defensively sound, man. They looked really good defensively.
It wouldn't be I think the two things that you just said basically go hand in hand. If you look at how Napoli were great defensively, it's not to say that the back four were so much better than they were under Rudy Garcia. Maybe they had a better showing in this game, sure, but I don't think 2 weeks of training under Mazzarri has made the defense all that stronger. However, as a unit, because they are now defending as a team and they are defending more tightly, like the way you put it, they operate in such a tight space off the ball, then that made them stronger defensively. I think the midfielders were putting in more of a shift defensively. Rather than more of a shift, they were positioned in a more defensive manner. You look at this unit, this 4-3-3, and it was shifting as a whole throughout this entire game. You saw the shape; it was never depleted, man. Never depleted.
It's cool because like this, you kind of have a tactician in Mazzarri who's quite defensively. He's defensive minded, right? He's going to
old
set
school.
Up exactly old school. He's going to say like he'd ideally play a 3 at the back, you know. But the thing is, he's got talented players up front to the point that he's going to have this well-drilled unit that's tough to penetrate with 3 animals up front, completely on the loose with maximum freedom and liberty. I think they're going to be fun to watch, and I think they might come back. Huh?
What's exciting is getting to see a manager who we are more recently used to seeing fighting for survival and doing this and that, being one of the old school, reliable Catenaccio guys.
Yeah.
Now, he's playing. He's having fun. He's with Napoli. He's got some world-class players in his side. So now we get to see how good one of these old school Italian managers can be when they have a top 7 team at their arsenal. And maybe some other top 7 teams, maybe who are struggling right now, maybe their manager might be on the way out, can take some ideas. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, honestly,
maybe Ballardini at Milan.
Can you imagine? Ballardini coming with his beanie and his sunglasses, playing 5 at the back.
I'm all for it.
Fuck it. You know, Leao, Pulisic up front. Everyone else at the back. Honestly, Atalanta needed a goal badly. So what did Gasperini do? He waited till the 83rd minute and he brought on Scamacca and Muriel together.
Svoto.
Why wait so long? You conceded your goal in the 79th. Was he okay with a draw? Did he think that Lookman and De Ketelare were fine up until that moment? I don't know, to be honest.
Lookman, I understand that he wanted to keep him on the pitch for as long as possible because firstly, he got a goal, so he was in good spirits. Secondly, when it's a tight game, it's great having a striker like Lookman. Why? Because if you need him to run down the clock, he can run down the clock. If you need him to attack and be direct, he can attack and be direct. If you need him to take it to the corner flag, he can do that. He's one of those guys that you could even bring on in the latter stages of a match for you to keep a result. The Ketelare, but like fucking hell, like he should have taken him out, in my opinion, when he needed a goal, which was from he conceded in 79th minute, to be fair.
And he made the double sub right then, so I don't even think he was going to bring on those strikers originally.
I would have brought on Scamacca earlier, because even Scamacca as a player, it's not to say the Ketelare is much more mobile than Scamacca. I would go as far to say that Scamacca is much more of a powerhouse than the Ketelare. We've seen him roar, like...
Even the fact that, okay, it was a high-intensity game. You're 1-1. Let's say it's the 60th minute, 65th minute. Okay, I get it. Lookman's a good player, right? But you look at the things that Muriel is going to bring you and what Lookman is going to bring you. They're quite similar nowadays.
Yeah.
Muriel has improved again. He dipped a lot last season, but this year he's looking a little bit better. He's looking more like the old Muriel that we kind of know. Not the super sub who comes on and scores every game, but kind of a neutral, watered down version of that. I think it would have been good for Gasperini to bring on some options up front to press the Napoli backline with some energy, because that's the Atalanta that we're used to, no? High intensity pressing, forcing mistakes and scoring goals. And it seems like they've moved so far away from that now that, like, you know, again, you look at the wings, you don't have anyone explosive on the wings anymore. You've got Bakker and Zappacosta.
Yeah.
You know, it's slow. Mm-hmm. It's lethargic. It takes a while.
They've lost a lot of their bite, man.
They have,
and I feel like, I don't know, but Scamacca, them signing Scamacca was them trying to get some of that bite back. And just when he's not on the pitch, they're no longer lions, they're cats, you know what I mean? They're no longer that formidable side. They'll give everyone a game, but they've got no qualities that you could say, yep, Atalanta will beat us because they are better than us at this, you know?
Atalanta really struggle against the top teams, and that's a problem. Gasperini said the following, okay, I quoted him over here. Unfortunately, some incidents prevent us from raising the bar, despite the fact that we play overall at the same level as teams like Inter, Napoli and Juventus. When this team shakes off some of its fears, they really cause problems to the opposition. So what he's saying over here, Gasperini, is again, like, the players are scared when they play big teams. And that is what holds them back from actually getting a result. He says that when they play without any fear against the smaller teams, they play incredibly. And we see this every week. They often blow teams out of the water. They look super organized and super good. But it's true, there is a mental block when it comes to Atalanta and these bigger teams. And I think there is some work to do to be done with the squad. I think that when it comes to Gasperini's system, for example, as we said, more explosive wingers, man. Like Dumfries would be good here. You know what I mean? Like, you put Dumfries on the right, man. He needs to fucking charge up and down for this Atalanta team. This was a team that took advantage on high intensity, man. They caused so many problems to opposition because of high intensity, and it seems that they've lost it.
And even if you look at their starting 11, as simple as that, I mean, Kolasinac new, Bakker new. They're finding their feet. De Ketelare new and fragile, because he had his debut season last season for Milan after Milan splashed 35 million on him. He had a dreadful debut season, and now he's at Atalanta, and he's still figuring himself out. Pasalic has struggled significantly over the past 2 seasons.
I forgot to mention he scored this game. It was a 1-2, but he was offside.
Okay, Pasalic.
Yes.
Yeah. Pasalic is finding his feet again. Jim City spent a lot of time injured last season. Carnesecchi is obviously their new starting keeper ahead of Musso. Nowadays, he's still finding his feet. He was obviously at Cremonese last year. So these are a lot of players, not only a lot of new players, but a lot of maybe inconsistent players. It's not always their fault. Some had been out injured, some were at different teams, so on and so forth. So I'm not crazy about Atalanta starting line.
Look, I I look at Atalanta's starting lineup and I think it's quite solid, right? Maybe not for top 4, but it's quite solid. I look at their midfield, for example, and I look at Coop Miners. Coop Miners is top 3 in his position. In the league, for sure. Like,
for sure.
You look at Ederson this season, he's been fantastic, right?
He's been good.
So in the middle you have that. You've got Scamacca, he's been good. He had like minutes to goals. He was one of the leading players when it comes to conversion, XG. Lookman, fantastic as well. The back 3 are right. It's Kolasinac. Actually, to be honest, he's fit in like a glove. It's like he's been there for ages. Grim City and Scalvini, very good as well. The goalkeeper is new, young and shaky. However, the thing that... The wings, man. That's it. It's as simple as that. The wings are not too standard.
You don't think maybe the balance in the midfield could be a little bit better? Maybe they need someone.
Are three players who are so versatile they can play in every position pretty much. I know
that sometimes causes problems.
Yeah.
When there isn't that fucking system in place.
But remember, they were missing the rune as well, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about this side. This side.
Yeah.
The fact you mentioned Scamacca, and I'm like, yeah, but he's not there. You know what makes me happy about this Atalanta team?
What?
Who's wearing the captain's armband, bro?
Scalvini, bro.
Fucking Scalvini, dog.
Yeah. Scalvini's like 19 years old wearing the captain's armband. That's great.
Shout out Scalvini.
And by the way, El Bilal Traore. He's practicing his headers in the pool. We saw on Instagram story. He's on his way back. He's working. He's coming back. I wonder what he's going to be like because he's their record signing.
I'm so curious.
Like, he's their record signing and they've brought in Scamacca.
I took him for 1 credit on Fanta.
He might be.
But now he's going to get better and go to AFCON. Same as Osimhen, man. Like, he's better now he'll go to AFCON.
That's why you have to be careful on Fanta with these AFCON players, bro. But anyway, yes, I don't know if there's anything else you want to point out from this game, bro.
No, not particularly. I think we got it all, bro.
Yeah, Muriel had a penalty appeal at the end of the game. I mean, he ended up kicking Elmas, though. That was what the replay showed. There was smart positioning by Elmas, putting himself between the ball and the man, in order to dispossess Muriel. Muriel kicked him, fell to the floor, claiming penalty, and he's like, no, it's no penalty. He kicked me. But granted, the player put himself between Muriel and the ball. Very smart over there. Elmas it was. And that's it for this one. So right now, Napoli find themselves in 4th with 24 points, while Atalanta are down in 7th with 20 points.
I believe you have the next game as well for us, brother.
Oh, yes. Milan 1, Fiorentina.
Oh, yes.
Milan 1, Fiorentina 0 is the game. And Jake is the name. So we've got a 4-2-3-1 formation for Pioli as usual. Business as usual at the back. This time it was Reinders and Pobega in the middle. Samuel Chukwueze started on the right wing. Pulisic on the left wing. Musa in the attacking midfield position with Luka Jovic up front, who, congratulations, has taken his first shot wearing a Milan shirt this game.
Coming into honestly, after halftime, I told Jake, have we seen Jovic touch the ball for Milan yet? Have we seen it? The answer is yes, but it's an exaggeration of
you know what I love,
how
man?
Quiet he
Every
is.
time Pioli talks about Jovic, he goes, he can play football. Like, is that really?
I saw a glimpse, huh? I saw a glimpse against Dortmund.
He can play. You're actually saying yourself. Yes.
I saw a glimpse against Dortmund. He was really like... He was not positioned to get a good header away, and he got a very powerful header away. He forced a good save from the keeper.
You know, that pissed me off. Him playing well against Dortmund.
Because it's Champions League big stage.
It's because he was playing well because the pressure was almost off because Milan had already lost. Right? He came on. Milan had lost, quite frankly, already. It was like 3-1, I think, when he came on.
Come on, don't be a pessimist.
And no, man, no.
He came on and he fought, man.
He came on, he fought, sure, but there was no pressure in reality because the game was over. No. Like, he could score, granted, he could, but with Milan weren't going to score 3, you know? It wasn't like it was 1-1 or Milan were losing 1-0 and he needed to equalize or he needed to score the winner.
Xhaka Traore on the left.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you see him in the league, in situations where the score is 0-0 or 1-1 or Milan are losing 1-0, and then he doesn't do anything.
No,
but anyway, that might be harsh. But anyway, nonetheless, moving on to Fiorentina. It's a 4-2-3-1 as well, mirroring it, and they were pretty much full flow, to be honest. It was Duncan and Arthur in the middle. Sotil was out on the left with Bonaventura as a trequartista, Gonzalez on the right, and Beltran getting the nod ahead of Inzola up front, even though Italiano's not sure about either of them nowadays. The highlight of this game and the talking point and the news headlines were all about 15-year-old Camarda, who came off the bench. Why was he the headline? Because he's 15 years old. He's the youngest ever Serie A player in history. A literal child. I believe he broke Amy's record, who was given his
Amy. Why do you need to bring her into this? Jesus. Okay, no.
That's his ex-girlfriend. Amy was a player at Bologna, and Mihailovic gave him his debut, basically. But yes, there's a hilarious video of Camarda getting on the team bus. And of course, when you're 15, you're 15. Like, let's be real. How much experience do you have in the world? Not much at all. Like, you've barely been speaking.
You're barely conscious at 15.
Exactly. Man. And so he was the first one to get on the team bus, and there were the fans all around there going, "Hey, Camarda, hey!" And he just didn't go on the team bus, and he went straight to the fans, started shaking their hands. I was like, what's this guy doing? Like, you're meant to just get on the bus, but he was so excited. Another funny one.
That was cute, man.
It was cute. Another funny one is that he was too shy to ask the club for tickets for his parents. So he went to the Milan store with his dad, and he bought the tickets from there with his dad. That's another funny one. His parents were at the stadium. There's a viral video of them crying, and the father looks so proud. The mother's in tears. It's lovely to see. And there was one more thing about Camarda Mania that I must be forgetting. Yes, and he was at San Siro in the Champions League, filming live streaming the Curva.
Man, when he came on and they shouted his name,
exactly,
you could see his face.
I think I have a theory as to why he was brought on, bro.
Tell me.
Because there's no logic in bringing on a 15-year-old boy for 15 minutes in a must-win game against Fiorentina, right? There's
maybe I'm lubing him up a bit.
Think about it. You're talking about one of the biggest clubs in the world, in Milan,
with two strikers.
You're talking exactly, yes. But then you look at their entire system. There are players registered at Milan who are older than Camarda who can play striker.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario in that, you can play a player who maybe isn't a natural striker, but you can pop him in there to fill in the role, right? Because he's experienced, he's fully developed, unlike a 15-year-old boy. But I think that since Camarda's so special, and because there were all these links to Man City, to all these German teams with great youth structure and all this, Milan wanted to give him a reason to stay. I think Milan wanted to make him obsessed with Milan. I think they wanted to give him a taste of San Siro, dude. And how are you going to do that? You bring him on. You have all the fans screaming his name. You get him going on the team bus, joining the players, training with Rafael Leao and all these guys. Granted, he had been training with them. But I do think that that's the reason why Camarda was brought on this game. Simply for him to pen that contract.
Yeah, that's a good point. They could also be putting up his value as well.
They want a new record, no?
Yeah. I was quite sure that Fiorentina had some injuries to their team, but looking at it, they seem to be at full flow.
Pretty much, bro. Pretty much full flow. There were quite a few X's this game. There were Jovic and Jack Bonaventura, who spent 6 seasons at Milan. For Milan, of course, there were Giroud, Leao, Okafor, Benasser out. Everyone is out. And there was an interesting quote by a Fiorentina player on Vincenzo Italiano. I didn't catch who the player was. However, what he said stuck with me. He said, "The coach is crazy, but he knows what he's doing."
I mean, yes, that's a perfect way to put it, I guess.
You can tell Italiano, he's a little bit crazy. Also, sorry, I keep talking about everything except the game, bro, but this is very important, all right? Did you see the video on Milan's social media of the admin of TikTok was asking Milan players to show their wallpapers? Did you see it?
Yes, bro. Yes.
What the hell is Chukwueze's wallpaper? They were like, "Can we see your wallpaper?" No. Like, what the hell is your wallpaper if you don't want to show it?
It's probably a picture of himself, right? Or a very provocative photo from his woman.
Maybe. I found that really funny though. I was like, what the hell is his wallpaper? Yeah, the first chance of the game, let's talk about football a bit, came in the 22nd minute. It was quite a cagey affair up until that point. It was Pulisic who had a snapshot. Tomori was brilliant this game. Manyan was really dramatic. He was making good saves, granted, but every time he would stay down, he would, you know how he is. And apparently after the game, at the end of the game, there was a shot, close range. It should have been the winner. Like Manyan, eagle Mike, you know, arms wide open, the ball smacks him in the face and goes out. Like, what a save. Granted, it was with your face, but he's so brave. Like, what a save. So he does that, right? He had been rolling around the floor all game, right? And like, that's not enough for him, the headlines. Not to say that, Mike Manyan suffered so much this game, but he came out as a hero at the end. No, he came out, he was like, you know, I had fever.
Man, can I tell you?
You had fever as well, Mike.
Mike, man. Great goalkeeper. Okay, maybe if you look at his performance against Dortmund, questionable. Fantastic goalkeeper, massive upgrade from Donnarumma. But since the negotiations, I've been seeing his attitude, man, you know what I mean? And it's like, firstly, he's asking for 10 million a season, which is like...
something like that, yeah.
Relax. Pretty much, I'm just rounding it up. Around 10 million a season he's asking for. What's with the heart attacks? Every time he does something, he's down on the ground for fucking 5-6 minutes, man.
I don't know.
I think even with his whole portiere attaccante thing, he just wants to be the main character. Yeah. Like sometimes he tries to ping balls forward. It's just like, sometimes let's play the ball out from the back. Don't always try to get it to Leao, or don't always try to get it to Giroud. Let's get the defenders involved. Play it to Theo, play it to Calabria, something. Yeah, sometimes his decisions and the way he is pisses me off, man.
Yeah, look, I think drama queen is the best way to put it, to be honest. Yeah, a little bit of a drama queen. Theo Hernandez had a few moments where his controller disconnected and he just lost the ball at the back. Parisi gave away a penalty on Theo Hernandez, and that's what eventually led to the goal. This was at the end of the first half, in the 46th minute. Parisi essentially just pushed Theo to the ground, who looked to be clean through. Theo stepped up, took the penalty, and scored it. Let's play a game. Guess how many touches Jovic had in the first half?
In 5.
Oh, I hate when you do that. 7. He had 7. In the 48th minute, there was a little bit of confusion as Chukwueze almost scored a header, and while it was showing the replay, the ball, the camera angle just cut, and Beltran's one-on-one. He took a really heavy touch. Manyan dove out and saved it again. Okay, Manyan, fantastic again. Beltran, terrible touch. That's what he's meant to have, that Nzola doesn't have. That kind of sharp, refined edge.
Exactly.
While Nzola's more like pace and power, and these are Italiano's words, not mine. In the 60th minute, and then eventually Pulisic was subbed out for Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who played behind the striker, interestingly enough. And then, of course, the game continued. Fiorentina kept trying to create chances. Camarda came on. Ian Mike, Magic Mike, the Eagle, massive save at the end. And then Jovic got his first shot for Milan. Congratulations to him.
Congratulations.
And that was pretty much the game. After the game, Italiano was freaking furious. He said, I don't know if it's talent, ferocity, or determination, but we cannot go home without scoring a goal. And this was, of course, after all the chances that Fiorentina had against Milan. They had an XG of over 2 goals. Okay. And you can look at Beltran's body language when he was substituted. He had just missed his best chance in Serie A so far, I think, that ball.
Probably.
His first touch ruined it, and Mike saved the day. What do you think it is, this problem with Fiorentina not being able to score in some games and not being able to service the strikers, and their strikers always seem to be misfiring? Is it a coincidence when you look at Cabral, Jovic, Nzola, Beltran? All these guys are misfiring.
I mean, it's the discontinuity up front. You see, up until 2 seasons ago, Piontek was there. Cabral was there. Just before that, keep in mind, Vlahovic left in January.
Yeah.
Ever since then, it's like they haven't really given a striker a lot of time to get used to the system and a lot of time to find their confidence. And to make matters worse, in fact, this is why I was pleased with their signing of Nzola, but they sign from overseas a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So they're bringing in players like Beltran, they're bringing in players like Cabral, these guys. And they need to, they brought in Piontek, who was overseas at that time. He had to be honest, he had a short stint in Italy, Piontek. He had 1 year, almost 2 years. And they never give them time to settle in. Now, obviously, if their performances aren't up to par, then you're not going to give them time. But now I feel like they've got Beltran, they've got Nzola, and they could be patient with them because they know they've got 2 players of high quality.
I don't know about that. I don't know about 2 players of high quality. I'm sure Beltran is a high quality player. His numbers at River Plate were very good, and you can see flashes of technical excellence when it comes to him. I think Nzola was the wrong profile for Fiorentina to go for.
For Fiorentina, potentially yes, but they have 2 different strikers, you know?
Yes, true. They have 2 different strikers, granted, but one of them's coming from South America. He's going to need time to settle in to European football, to Italian football. Until he settles in, if this guy doesn't hit the ground running, you're going to have to rely on Nzola. And what is Nzola? Nzola is a striker that thrives in a counter-attacking side that requires him to hold up play while the midfielders advance. Because that's what he is. That's what he was at Spezia, and that's what everything he did good, everything that made people praise him, the few games he had where he scored and where he played well, that's exactly what he was doing. He was holding up play in the middle. No one could dispossess him. He was waiting for the runners and servicing his teammates. With Fiorentina, he's doing a lot of waiting in the box.
It's going to take some settling because what you said first of him holding up play, feeding the players behind him, for example, Nico Gonzalez, Bonaventura, Sotil.
But Fiorentina aren't often counter-attacking. That's the point. Their style with Italiano is very heavily possession-based.
Yes, but if you have, for example, Giroud at Milan, who's great with his back towards goal. No, I'm not comparing their technicality, naturally. But it's what Nzola can bring to Fiorentina is quite similar to what Giroud can do at Milan in that sense, that he's got talented players behind him. Now, whether they're playing counter-attacking or whether they're playing controlling football, if they find the striker and the striker with his back towards goal finds one of the runs coming in from one of his teammates, Gonzalez, Bonaventura, Sotil, again, quality players, it can work. It's just Nzola's quite inconsistent.
That's it again. And he was inconsistent at Spezia, man. I mean, I'll never forget his breakout season at Spezia, where he was scoring in the first half of the season like a maniac. January market comes along. I splash all my credits on fantasy football to bring in Nzola, and he didn't score a single goal in the second half of the season.
I'd react, but guys, you have no idea how many times I've heard that he's been so.
I think I've said it on this podcast before, actually. Alan and Andy would know. We've had, there was Luca on Twitter, is in our 0.5%.
Yes, what a guy.
He must have listened to every episode.
Literally.
Yeah. And even Alan's listened to everything, even Andy.
I was seeing you've listened to like almost 5,000 minutes of me and you speaking throughout 2023. That's mental.
Absolutely crazy. One tactical observation I made about Milan this game. Normally when it's Leao and Theo playing, Leao attacks the byline and Theo cuts inside, right?
Yeah.
However, this time it was Pulisic cutting inside and Theo attacking the byline.
Yes, and there was finally also some cover for Theo when he was bombing forward. Pulisic's industry is something that will not be undermined because he puts in a shift defensively as well, man.
Yeah, totally. Pioli admitted to having to defend deep in the second half. He said there was for 3 reasons, right? The desire for 3 points, the current state of the squad, and the fact that Milan hadn't won in 4 games. He prioritized a pragmatic approach to get the victory, basically. And 1-0 clean sheet, very good for Milan over there.
Yeah. Good win.
Yeah. I would also like to address, because it happened and you've probably seen it, Milan lost to Dortmund in the Champions League 3-1. And they currently need to beat Newcastle away from home, and Dortmund need to beat PSG at home for Milan to qualify for the Champions League. And this is Matthew's favorite thing, right? When I start saying, if this and this
when
happen.
it's out of our hands, I don't care anymore. Yeah. Because I'm not gonna hope for a miracle and say, because this is gonna happen, and fuck this false hope. Yeah. Milan are out of the Champions League. Would you rather have them in third or fourth? Jake, answer me now. Would you rather have Milan in the Europa League or no European competition?
Give me the Europa League, bro.
Thursday nights are Europa nights. It would be exciting because when Benacer is back and when Milan have got some of their flow back and they've got the injured players back, they can actually compete in the Europa League. But after the start, I would not mind focusing on the league.
Yeah,
I would not mind that at all.
It's going terribly right now. The injuries are absolutely fucking devastating. They're relentless.
Chow is injured.
Everyone's Chow is in crutches. Like it's fucked. Everyone's
Krunic was playing centre back against
Chaka Traore was brought on as our solution on the wing, and
the 15-year-old in this game, Jake. The 15-year-old playing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really bad, and I don't know, but something needs to be done about it, man. Someone needs to be questioned, because this amount of injuries is not normal, and it's not like Milan play a super high gegenpress kind of squad system like Liverpool used to do, or like Atalanta used to do when they would rotate their entire team. This is a possession-based system, and that's meant to be not too strenuous on the body, but whatever. They have to figure it out, because it's bad. Yeah. It's bad and it's dangerous, man. Players should be scared to come to play for Milan.
But good win against Fiorentina.
Good win against Fiorentina.
Full flow Fiorentina.
Yes.
Milan decimated, but they managed to get 3
a very
points.
mature victory.
Yes.
Milan are in third with 26 points, while Fiorentina are in 8th with 20 points.
Fuck Roma. Fuck Lazio. We're going to do Empoli Sassuolo now. But how can we not? Empoli 3, Sassuolo 4. I'm surprised we didn't put this game first. The Tuscans were fresh off of a shock victory away to Napoli, but still missing Baldanzi and Pezzella. Sassuolo started with Torsvet at trequartista ahead of Bayrami, who was on the bench, and the Neroverdi were without a win in 6 rounds coming into this game. To open the scoring, it was Ciccio Caputo through a penalty kick which was won following Viti clumsily bringing down Cambiaghi. Caputo scores against his former team. Just 8 minutes later, Pinamonti headed in a Lauriente cross to bring things level for Sassuolo. Goal against the X, once again. Sassuolo went 1 up in the 21st minute after a Henrique header after a good cross by Toljan. It's good to see Henrique scoring after he had been injured for so long. Fazzini equalised on the half-hour mark. I think it's 2-2 after 30 minutes. Fazzini equalised on the half-hour mark, slotting in well to the bottom corner from just outside the area, leaving Consigli rooted to the spot. A lot of defensive clusterfucks leading up to that moment as well, if I'm going to be completely blunt and honest. And then Sassuolo regained the lead through a Berardi penalty where he sent Berisha the wrong way. The penalty was given away by Cancelleri on Toljan. Moments later, in the 80th minute, because now we're in the second half, by the way, guys, Berardi almost gave Sassuolo a cushion, a 2-goal advantage in the 80th minute, as did this wicked shot cross from distance which hit the far post. It would have been a spectacular goal. In the 85th, Empoli got the equaliser, making it 3-3 after some confusion and mayhem where Giassi hit the crossbar. And Kovalenko took a strike. He rebounded it into the back of the net, but it was helped over the line by Sassuolo defender, of course, Vigna. Even when they just always need to score an own goal, Sassuolo. No, this was going. It was he can't sit in.
It must be their initiation or something.
Hey, you have to score an own goal. Some people think it was Kovalenko's goal. I think it was an own goal, and that's how it went down. Keep in mind, Kovalenko was the guy that scored the winner against Napoli a couple of weeks ago. And then in the 91st minute, Berardi got his second of the night, and he got the winner for Sassuolo, making it 4-3 as his volley at the far post on his weaker right foot deflected in off Libi Kakace. The cross was provided by Vigna, who redeemed himself for the own goal. This was a game. I mean, in football, there are chess games where you look at, for example, I don't even want to use Juve Inter as an example because they were a bit almost lackadaisical with their performance, almost just fear. But there are chess matches, low-scoring chess matches. If you look at Milan Juve 2003 Champions League final, one of the most entertaining nil-nils you'll ever see. Okay, there were some great saves, some good dribbles, and this and that, lot of iconic moments, but a true midfield battle. And that, to me, is entertaining as fuck, even if there are no goals.
Yeah.
That is the Floyd Mayweather. For every Floyd Mayweather, and then there's a Mike Tyson. A Mike Tyson that comes out swinging, bro, if you're gonna hit me, fuck it, I'm gonna hit you back.
My style is impregnable. My beauty is impenetrable. Praise be to Allah. Bro, there's no one like Mike Tyson.
No, bro, what are you talking about? No one, like no one. And now...
Fuck you in your ass, boy.
I'll fuck you till you love me. Bleep. Now he's got his shit
so chill. Now he's on podcast, he's eating mushrooms. Like
I want to hug him. Like, you know what I mean? This guy's bitten someone's fucking ear off. Like, but whatever.
But he said he was deeply insecure back then.
Yeah.
But anyway.
This was a boxing match. This was two Tysons. The two Tysons of Serie A in Empoli and Sassuolo.
Beating each other.
Just beating the shit out of each other. Just not looking at their defensive duties at all. Everyone going forward. It was an entire clusterfuck. This is the kind of game that noobs enjoy. that noobs say, wow, football is actually a beautiful sport.
Yeah, I mean, lapses in defensive concentration combined with high intensity pressing, because that's what these two teams do. Now, when you look at Cambiaghi, Cancelleri, Caputo, they're going to press you, particularly the two C's on the wing. Sassuolo, a high intensity side as well. Maybe not as much this season, but they do have the ability to press their opponent. And many errors were forced, and it led to this incredible shootout at 3:00 on a Saturday.
Yeah, and pretty much what you said. So it's not a surprise to see Sassuolo score a lot of goals, particularly against a side like Empoli. But I do think it was, despite their defensive woes, I think it's good to see Empoli being so free-flowing and taking a game like this on the chin and getting 3 goals. In this game, because if you look earlier on in the season, they hadn't scored a single goal, bro, in like their opening 5-6 matches, I believe. So really, really good to see. I mean, and there was, one of them was an own goal, but Fazzini getting a good goal, Caputo scoring from the spot. They were opportunistic in this game.
Yes, and they massively outscored their XG as well, which was 1.41. Both teams actually massively outscored their XG. Sassuolo with an XG of 2.36, if you care about that statistic. Personally, I like that statistic.
Yeah,
I like XG.
It's always interesting. Wow, I was going to say Gen Z.
But it does suck when you score 3 goals and you get absolutely no points. But of course, who other than Domenico Berardi to win it for Sassuolo in the 91st minute? What a player, what a hero. He's honestly, at this point, we're talking Toto Di Natale level.
Yes, here's my question.
Yeah.
Is he going to try force his way out in January, or is he going to wait till the end of the season?
I don't know. He's already tried to force his way out.
Juve last summer, for those of you that don't know.
I don't think he'll try to do it again mid-season. I think he's too professional for that. It's one thing if you try to force your way out in the summer and it doesn't quite go to plan and you miss the first game or 2 of the season. Like, granted, it's not ideal for your captain, but he has definitely been a soldier for them, and I think maybe it is time for them to let him spread his wings elsewhere. But I don't think he's the type to do it halfway through the season. I might be mistaken, but we'll see.
Yeah, some people surprise me. Yeah. I want to highlight Fazzini, not only because of his goal, but also because of his industry throughout this match. He was attacking, he was defending, he had a good performance over here.
You like Bolocca?
I like Bolocca. I like Bolocca.
He's
a good little player. Cancelleri, I haven't he used to excite me, Cancelleri, when he used to feature for Verona and when he used to feature for Lazio.
He has picked up a little bit with Andrea Azzoli, and you can see what he's all about. He doesn't do it consistently. He definitely doesn't do it every game.
Yeah,
but he's quite a powerhouse when he gets driving. Like he's very hard to dispossess once he gains momentum.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's quite nifty as well. His quick feet too.
I think you highlighted Boloka as well. You highlighted him. You asked me if I like him. I do like him. And also like Henrique. I think losing Maxime Lopez is devastating because he was everything for this team. He was the metronome. So it's not easy to cope without him. Am I saying these guys are perfect and they're bringing the balance back, so on and so forth? No, but they're showing hints of promise. Let's put it that way. They're two good players, Henrique and Boloka, is what I'm trying to say. That's enough from my end about this game. I think this is a game you watch the highlights and you've watched the majority of the game, considering you could probably find 90-minute long highlights of all the goals and chances that there were in this game. Sassuolo find themselves in 14th on 15 points, while Empoli is still in the relegation zone in 18th place on 10 points, however level with Cagliari, who are in 17th.
Fantastic, bro. Which means we should probably move on to Salernitana Lazio, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sei qual è la squadra del mio cuore? Sì che lo so, è la Salernitana. That's a nice little chant that they have there. I need to go see them.
They can't put a foot wrong, Salernitana. When it comes to these chants, like the Bulaye Dia one, the Tifos, and this and that.
Yeah,
fuck me, they're lost. I hate how they're lost. It's my least favorite thing in the world.
This year
right
we
now.
go up and we see them, bro. We have to go up and watch them in Salerno. Like we make a trip out.
Let's wait to see how the season progresses, because if we could watch them in a fucking relegation decider, bro,
my God.
at home, oof.
That would be great, huh? Yeah, but we have to make that happen. So for this game against Lazio, Filippo Inzaghi's men were missing Ochoa and Bulaye Dia, two of their best players. They're probably two best players, right?
Yeah.
Costil and Iquemezi stepped in instead of them. Costil, of course, is the 36-year-old goalkeeper who looks like Giroud. Iquemezi is the 22-year-old Nigerian who scored against Sampdoria and the 4-0 Coppa Italia victory.
I was a bit pissed that we didn't see Simi instead of Iquemezi.
We saw Simi, bro. We saw Simi while you were in Australia. I believe it was the match day before this one. He came on.
Rub it in, bro.
He came on and he was absolutely dreadful.
Really?
Bro, nothing went his way. He was terrible. And it was so sad to watch because he couldn't control a single ball. He looked out of place.
He's one of those players, bro, that when he has a bad game, he looks shit. He looks like he never played football before. You know what I mean?
Fact.
Because of his stature.
I was a big fan of him from Serie B.
Yes.
Right? And you see him, he's kind of a poacher, and in that league, he thrived. And when he came to Serie A with Crotone, I was telling everyone, like, Simeon Wanko. And I took him on fantasy football. And in the first half of the season, he was terrible. He scored a few penalties because his penalties are very good. He does a slow run up and everything. But he was terrible. I let go of him in January. Here we go again. Are you ready? I let go of him in January. Brought in Nzola. Simi scored 20 goals that season for Crotone.
One of the highest scoring Africans in Serie A.
Yeah, top three. Whatever. Romagnoli and Chasale were out for Lazio with Gila and Patrick stepping in. Fun fact about Gila and Patrick. Gila's Patrick's second best friend behind SpongeBob. Gila is a 23-year-old former Real Madrid player, while Patrick, we all know Patrick, is a former Barcelona player. So these are two ex-rivals coming together. Luis Alberto, of course, was suspended for this one. So they lined up with a midfield.
So they lost.
Exactly. Guendouzi, Cataldi and Camarda. And before, Sarri had said that it's a shame that Camarda and Luis Alberto are so similar because they can't actually play together. So this was a good opportunity against Salernitana for Camarda Camarda to show what he's all about and to show like, listen, I'm playing in my position now. I'm the offensive outlet right now. I'm the midfield playmaker. It's all about me this game.
Wow, Sarri said all that.
Sarri said
Surprised he didn't have an asthma attack.
Sarri just said that they can't play together, basically. The rest was actually me. No. Candreva and Immobile were the first captains of this match day to grab the mic and speak out against domestic violence. It was very windy. Guendouzi's hair was going mental. You can tell it's windy just by looking at Guendouzi. How's the weather outside? Everyone needs a Guendouzi out on their balcony. Take a look at them. It's windy. I see it. East winds today.
Guendouzi is your index finger when you suck it and put it out of the window to see where the wind is coming from.
Exactly. Yeah. I think
he's also Sideshow Bob.
He is Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons. Salernitana grew into the game 15 minutes in. They were exposing the gap between the defense and the midfield, particularly at the edge of the box. Lazio took about 28 minutes to come to life this game. Salernitana still looked more dangerous. However, the standout performers for me this game were Candreva and Bohinen. For me, Bohinen was so good. I'd never seen him play like this, man, before for Salernitana. Super game. Gyomber had a very mixed half, the first half, especially had a great interception. But then he gave away a penalty really badly, which was, of course, converted by Ciro Immobile. And then he got a yellow card in the 42nd minute, and shortly after deserved a second yellow. Like, it was a clear second yellow, but I think the ref didn't give it because he had just booked him for the yellow, which should never be the case. If it's a second yellow, it should totally be a second yellow. But he somehow got away with it. He rushed the player so stupidly for someone who had just been booked. It was so stupid, yeah.
That'd piss off a couple of Lazio fans. That's devastating because if you're 1-0 up and Salernitana, your opponents, who are dead last in the league, have got a red card, job done.
Job done, bro.
Job done.
Yeah. Immobile, to his credit, timed his run to perfection to win the penalty. A nice cold finish. Great work by him in general. Was very impressed by him coming off the bench against Celtic as well, scoring 2 goals in the Champions League to shoot Lazio up their group table. They're looking good now to qualify. Kastanos scored, the man from Cyprus, in the 55th minute. Bohinen was very good in the build-up play. And eventually he was there to tap it home. What was funny is seeing Inzaghi watching this goal take place, and he couldn't help himself but kick, When the ball was loose, you see Inzaghi kicking. Like, his instincts are still there, He wanted to score that goal. In the 61st, Zaccagni, who was in doubt for this game, went off injured. Poor him. And then in the 66th minute, it happened. There was a free kick. It was played to Candreva, who took a shot. 2 players were charging. He shot between them from out of the area. The ball was just swerving and curling centrally, but spinning, like, where the hell is it gonna go? And it rockets its way into the back of the net. So that was a Ruolo dell'Ex goal, so he didn't quite celebrate.
He loves a goal against Lazio. He scored a banger at the Olimpico last year as well, man.
He loves a goal against big clubs, especially the Milan clubs as well. He scored that goal against Inter where it was a cross. Like, he scored against Milan for Inter in front of my very eyes that game that Suso scored 2 goals. Yeah. But he
set up a group chat for all of his exes, Candreva.
There we go, man. All right, look at me now. Another stunner for his collection. Provedel, bro. Was it his fault?
You're saying that I think Provedel had a shaky performance. Even against Celtic, he didn't see too much of the ball, and then he scuffed a few back passes. He was shit with the ball at his feet, and he didn't command his area as he did when he was confident, when he scored that last minute goal in the Champions League, this and that. I wouldn't say the goal was his fault. If I'm being completely honest, I know I think you think otherwise, but
I don't know if I would think it's his fault,
because the sheer power and the amount few times do you see a ball move so frequently and so obviously at such power and speed, man,
and wind
and the wind as well. It's fucked. Keep in mind he'll have a couple of players blocking his vision as well. Provedel, that's a tough ball to save, man. It's I do think there is the great goalkeepers would save that, potentially, but it's tough to say, man.
Yeah, it's perhaps a forgivable error. Mazzocchi reminded me of our mother this game.
In what sense?
At one point, I think he thought that the throw-in was his, but it was given the other way. And he got his hand in a fist, and he bit his index finger. He bit, like looking at the referee, he's biting his finger.
Did he go up to the linesman, show him the bite mark, so his hand go, look what you did to me? That would definitely remind me of Mama. Shout out to Mama.
Look, and
Papa, we're doing
legends.
Shout out to
Mom, Dad, love you. The XG for Salernitana was 1.75, while Lazio's was 1.98, so it was quite a tight affair. Lazio dominated the ball possession, 62% over there. Lotito did say at the end of this game that I can't believe it, we just lost to Candreva. We lost 11 against Candreva. That's what Lotito said. Not quite fair. When you look at the statistics other than the possession stats, they were totally on par. In fact, there were 4 saves made by Provedel and 1 save only made by Costil.
Wow, big precedent is sad, wow.
You look at Patrick, this game, he didn't win a single aerial or ground duel. That just goes to show where one of the problems was this game.
It's probably living under a rock under the sea doesn't help.
Lazio's manager, Sarri, after this game said, in the next few days, I will analyze what's gone wrong. If it's my fault, I will leave. Guess what? It's not his fault, man.
He's still there.
He's still there, so it's not his fault.
Because he said over the next few days, a few days have passed now, so he's
still there.
He's fine.
I don't know if he's lost the dressing room, to be honest. That might be a bit of a scary thing, because you look at every time the Lazio players are going into halftime or going into the dressing room, everyone's arguing already from the get-go. You see, there are quite a few feisty characters. Granted, Luis Alberto over there, they have many players of Spanish descent as well. They like to yap a bit.
No, that can be good and bad. The arguing, like not the pointing fingers, but the heated discussions going into the dressing room. That could showcase a winning mentality and the desire to win. Think of the Roy Keanes, think about the Patrick Vieiras, think about the Claude Makalele's and all of these. They maybe not Makalele, he wasn't very argumentative, but these are the kind of players that are at the forefront, shouting, commanding, trying to get the best out of their teammates. And then there's the Bruno Fernandes type. Yeah. There's the Luis Alberto type. There's the who's that fucking Bologna player? Moro. There's the Moro type. These are the guys. They don't command. They bitch and they flail.
They whine.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I just wonder what it's like when they actually do get into the dressing room. Like, is Luis Alberto constantly challenging Sarri, for example? You know?
I'm sorry, but Matthias on the group chat just messaged us. We're missing the football, obviously. It's Champions League night. João Mario hat-trick in less than 40 minutes against Inter.
João Mario hat-trick in less than 40 minutes against Inter.
Bro,
I might get that tattooed.
How much are Inter, man?
Inter are losing 3-0 to Benfica. There's the rotation. Let's read their lineup quickly. So they have Audero, Cherby, Devray, Bissek, Carlos Augusto, Klassen, Aslani, Frattesi, Darmian, Sanchez, Arnautovic. 3-0 down to Benfica. But they have 4.
Bellingham has done it again against Napoli. Real are leading 2-1 at the moment. Simeone scored Mr. Champions League.
Champions League, there we go. Oh, Brahim Diaz with an assist.
Way!
On Rodrigo's goal. But anyway.
Let's get back to it, yeah.
Back to the topic. I think I forgot it. Now, where were we?
We're saying about Sarri losing the dressing room.
Yes. I'm not sure if that's the case. It's always difficult to tell unless you're watching the team very closely and you're in and around them during training. But yeah, it's definitely not looking good for Lazio, and something definitely isn't ticking. It's difficult to put your finger on what the problem is. I don't know if it's an individual thing. I think collectively there's a lack of confidence. There's a lack of understanding, and quite frankly, there's a lack of quality in that midfield. When you look at Luis Alberto playing there, it's all going through him. Everything ticks through Luis Alberto. He wasn't there this game, and they really struggled. Zaccani wasn't great Felipe Anderson was isolated, Immobile was isolated, Camarda, Cataldi, Guendouzi didn't quite get ticking, Marisic and Lazzari a little bit behind as well. It wasn't a great showing for them at all.
Yeah, remember, this is still season 1 of them, life without Sergei.
Yeah.
That's still very prominent.
Oh, yeah, that's an all-round midfielder over there, world class back then.
Yeah.
But yes, when you look at the table, you will see that Lazio are in 11th and with 17 points, while Salernitana are in 20th with 8 points. But don't get it twisted, they're only 2 points off of safety. It's quite tight down there.
Yeah. Thank you, Siri. Next game we're going to be covering is Roma 3, Udinese 1. The Giallorossi finally had Lorenzo Pellegrini back in the starting 11. Woohoo!
Wow. Remember when Mourinho said that he wishes he had 11 Pellegrinis?
Yeah, that would be good. That'd have an entire team injured for half the season. They had Renato Sanchez out, they had Chris Smalling out, they had Tammy Abraham out, and they had Marash Kumbulla out. Who would have thought? They're all injury prone, like literally all of them are injury prone players. Actually, Dybala's fit, which is crazy. The Fruilani had an even longer absentee list, including Pereira, Delafeu, Ezibwe, Davis, Brenner, Enzo Bosse, Semedo, and Christensen. But in their last 2 games, they had beaten Milan and held Atalanta to kind of turn things around a little bit to Udinese. But in this game, Roma opened the scoring in the 20th minute after Mancini headed in an in-swinging Dybala free kick, 1-0. The inevitable header that Mancini scores every season. He gets a couple of them. Udinese equalised in the 57th as Tuvan headed in at the far post following a beautiful cross by Payero, where Rui Patricio was kind of unsure whether to commit or not. Tuvan did one of my least favourite celebrations where like he gets really close to the camera, blows a kiss, and then speaks to the camera like he's addressing someone. It's like, I really don't want to see, like who are you talking to? It bugs me.
Can't hear you, bro.
Yeah, like, stop. A beautiful and quick passage of play led to Dybala finishing cleanly in the final third after being set up by a clever Lukaku touch following some beautiful one-touch play, making it 2-1 for Roma. And then El Shaarawy sealed the deal in the 90th minute after a trademark finish into the far corner, making it 3-1. I just want to say,
El Shaarawy, bro.
Definitely. I just want to say that in our other Fanta, I had Mancini and El Shaarawy on the bench, as well as Milan Juric.
Wow, bro doesn't know ball.
I don't know ball. I just choose the best players.
On the other hand, I won 4 bets this weekend. 4 out of 5.
You should give Fagioli some tips. Harsh.
Maybe he'd still have his kneecaps.
Maybe he could finally pay back Dragusin.
Yeah. And someone else. Who was it? He borrowed 50k.
Dragusin and...
Oh God, here we go.
Remember. I don't know, but we'll remember when we have 15 minutes left, I will randomly scream it, don't worry. Tactical adjustments in this match for Roma. Mourinho made strategic substitutions, bringing in Bove and adjusting the formation to a 3-4-3, which proved effective in turning the game in Roma's favour. Naturally, Roma, one thing they do have at their arsenal is pace nowadays, since they've got Dybala and their starting 11, and they've also got players like El Shaarawy that they can bring on as well. They've got Spinazzola, they've got Karsdorp, they've got a fair bit of pace in their side, and changing it to a 3-4-3, putting Lukaku up front, flanked by Dybala and El Shaarawy. A good little plan B for them to have in their arsenal.
Yeah. They've climbed up to 5th, man. They're doing very well now, slowly, sneaky.
That's right. How that tends to happen with Roma. Even last year they were being sneaky, but then they had to abort mission to focus on the Europa League. But there seemed to be this optimism at the Olimpico. Like even when they conceded the equalizer, the fans, they were still behind the players, they were still chanting, the Olimpico was still totally alive. There seems to be this belief that this squad can actually do something this season.
Do you think they can do something this season?
I think they can. Roma have weapons at their arsenal. They're good from dead ball situations. They've got Lukaku and Dybala that together and fully fit, they can do a lot of damage. Their midfield isn't crazy, and it's an ever-changing list of players rotating with each other, but Mourinho tends to get the best out of these kind of players. He needs them to be savages, he needs them to be calm, and he needs them to be killers. And he tends to create this kind of player. So overall, I think Roma can do something, especially without Ibanez in their team.
Very good point. Did you hear what Mourinho said about this team when they're away from home?
No.
He said that he's coached teams in the past that away from home were like a group of bandits who wanted to go into foreign lands and conquer, essentially. Whereas now he's coaching a team who apparently when they play away from home just miss their grandma's cooking. That's what he said, dude. This guy's unhinged. But yeah, I think Roma are definitely getting their shit together. They still have that super useful ability of scoring goals from set pieces, and they seem to do it every game. And other than that, they show that they can score great goals from open play as well, such as, case in point, Dybala's goal over here.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic link-up play. And then El Shaarawy's goal, first time perfectly into the corner, vintage El Shaarawy. Just showing us they have many avenues that they can score from.
Yeah, I think Udinese had a decent performance over here as well, to give them their flowers, because they are looking better than they were at than the start of the season. They seemed to struggle more when coping with Lukaku and Dybala than playing football against Roma.
Yeah.
It's the attack that essentially won Roma the game, because yes, Roma had 12 shots, but 5 were on target, and they had 64% ball possession. A lot of the time, Roma being Roma, they were playing the ball around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Udinese, they weren't impatient with it, they kept their shape, and then they managed to get a goal, to get the equalizer. But then that's when personnel and having star players makes a difference for you, because Dybala and Lukaku can flip the switch, they link up together so well, man. Lukaku really understands the assignment with Roma, and Dybala, he doesn't need to understand the assignment. He's so fucking talented that you put him wherever you put him, and I think he's gonna perform to a certain extent. Having Lukaku by his side helps.
Yeah. Of course, yes, very true.
Roma are in 5th now on 21 points, guys. They're just 3 points behind Napoli and just 5 points behind Milan. So they really are lurking. Udinese, on the other hand, 16th place on 11 points out of the relegation zone. So I'll just do Bologna-Torino now as well. It was Bologna 2, Torino 0. Salamaker started ahead of the doubtful Orsolini for Bologna, as he was in doubt. And young Fabian got his first start of the season ahead of Freuler. Shores and Ricci were out for Torino, replaced by Lazzaro and Linetti. Vanya was also benched by Juric, replaced by Gemello. The coaching staff said that this was a simple technical choice, prompted by a perceived drop in the Serbian goalkeeper's performances during training. Okay? We talking about practice.
We talking about practice.
But anyway, in minute 1, Fabian went for a goal, really setting the tone for what was a memorable performance for him in his first Serie A start. Vlasic netted a bullet from distance in the 17th minute. This would have been up there with some of the great goals. It would have been alongside Malinovskyi's and Candrevas. But VAR controversially ruled it out as Zapata was in an offside position, impeding Gemello's vision.
I thought this was harsh at first. And I thought that there was no way that goal shouldn't stand, and that the velocity that the ball was hit, that struck with, it wouldn't have made a difference if the goalkeeper saw it or not. And I was talking to David about it, the poet. We call him the poet.
David.
Yeah, he's the best. Shout out David on Instagram about it, and we were agreeing that it was ridiculous However, I have revisited the images, and I was talking to a friend of mine.
Zapata literally has to duck, bro.
Zapata runs into the keeper's view. He's totally blocking him, and there's another player in an offside position impeding his view as well. It's the rule, you know, and if we're going to be consistent over here, then it needs to be cancelled. I'm not sure I like the rule that if a goalkeeper's vision is being blocked by a player in an offside position, then you cancel the goal. I'm not sure how I feel about it, because there's a lot of room for fine margins, like maybe this one, or I'm sure there have been.
Yeah, but what happens when you start making exceptions, man?
That's it.
You get arguments in the VAR room. You get all the pundits. You get all the pundits talking shit about this decision. They create this atmosphere against the game and against the rules of the game. This is consistent, man. Yes, it was a great goal. Boo fucking who, man. He was in the way. Yeah. He was in the way, and he should essentially know better at this point. I'm still pissed off about that Kessie, the Giroud offside in Kessie's goal against Napoli 2 years ago. I haven't stopped thinking about it, man. He was offside. He really wasn't impeding his vision. Yeah. But it's the rule. And they need to be consistent. This is where they need to put their foot down. Would have been a great goal, though. Mm-hmm. Zapata forced Skorupski to a good save late in the first half as Bologna struggled to threaten due to some great man marking by Buongiorno on Zirkzee. That was a beautiful battle between those two, brother. You've got Zirkzee being all slick on the ball and Buongiorno just aggressive, on his ass, strong, not giving him
neutralizing him well.
Yes, bro. Yes, that's the very end. That's fucking Buongiorno for you, man. However, and then Bologna managed to open the scoring through Fabian. You remember how Vanya wasn't doing well in training and how they should start someone called Gemello? Gemello? I've honestly never seen such a bad decision made by a goalkeeper, honestly. Because there was a through ball played by Beukema to Fabian. A through ball almost at the feet of Fabian. Fabian had to make 3-4 steps.
With the defensive line around him.
With the defensive line around him. Gemello's like, I can get this one. And he sprints out of his box, bro. I'm not even saying a bit out of his box. He went halfway to the halfway line, like. Halfway to the halfway between the box and halfway to try and get it. Bless him, he got a touch to it, but Fabian managed to keep hold of it and he tapped it into the empty net. Terrible decision making by Gemello, who's obviously new and
23.
He's young, so much to learn, but not a good sign at all, because decision making is essential.
But that can be improved, to be honest. And with experience now, he'll know not to rush when the fucking ball is. But imagine he did touch the ball first. Imagine he cleared it out of the way. We'd be saying, wow, what a brave goalkeeper. The new Neuer, sweeper, keeper.
No way, bro. No way. If you see it, the ball was at his feet. I don't rush out like that.
Honestly, it was bizarre. I can't believe he ran out. His defenders were there. Like, why are you rushing out? The fact is everyone looking at
it. It was crazy, man. It was crazy.
Then it was a whole lot of Torino doing nothing.
And then it was Torino trying, but Bologna, such a unit, man. Such a unit, Thiago Motta's men. And then, as Torino were kind of looking to push, there was a long ball over the top by Liko Giannis after gaining possession, to Zirkzee, who was clean through on goal. Zirkzee being Zirkzee, he's like, let me let this guy catch up to me. Guy catches up to him, skips past him and slots it into the bottom near corner. So calm, so smooth, so sexy, man. He's
ruled out originally.
Originally ruled out for offside. What did I tell you when they ruled it out?
He's on.
Guess what?
Guess what I told you?
He was obviously on, like.
Guess what I told you? No chances on.
No chances. No chances on. He was like, you guys can't see this, but he was like this much onside.
He bent his run to perfection.
Bro.
He's so good at
Zirkzee. You ever saw the clip where he missed that empty goal for Bayern Munich? He dribbled past the keeper. He was gonna let me let this one roll in. I don't need to touch it again. Guy comes sliding out of nowhere, like embarrassing stuff.
Oh, I should check that.
And I saw it on TikTok recently, and the comments were saying, haha, what a joke this player is at Zirkzee. Look at them now, they have no idea
that he's making grown men look like children.
Yeah, I mean, the first talking point was the disallowed goal, but I guess we've already discussed that. Bologna's current form, 3 wins in 4, and they're in 6th.
Yeah, they are absolutely brilliant at the moment, and I do think they can keep it up as long as Zirkzee doesn't get injured.
You think he's the sauce?
I think he's pivotal for them, man. I think they might struggle without him because there are certain moments where it's all Zirkzee. Like, you feed him a ball and he just fucking feints and shimmies and twists and without, you have many players who work for a few technically gifted players. Like Salamakers and Ndoye. Their entire role over here was to service Zirkzee and Ferguson, right?
Yep.
Even Fabian and Derbyshire to a certain extent in the double pivot with Christensen and Posh at the back. Same thing, man. Just servicing the striker. The substitute striker is not prolific at all. Van Hooydonk. So I think as long as Zirkzee stays fit, they can actually compete for European spots. I also don't know much about their second keeper, but Skorupski's fantastic, and I don't know how that'd be if something were to happen to him. Other than that, they have depth all around. Their wings, especially, like Orsolini's fallen injured and not that bad. They can do with Ndoye, who's okay. Freuler came on as a substitute in the double pivot, for example, another brilliant piece of depth. Yeah, and obviously, once again, praise to Fabian, bro, because he already scored this season. He had scored in his first, I think, substitute appearance, and now he scored in his first start. So, power to him. The boy's got a real eye for goal.
Absolutely. That was going to be my second and last question for you. So, basically, guys, Bologna in 6th place on 21 points, whilst Torino are down in 12th on 16 points.
Verona 2, Lecce 2, brother.
Let's go.
This was a super entertaining game. Super entertaining game. Verona started with a 4-2-3-1. They had Chachua as the right back. Chachua. Hien back as centre-back, partnered with Amione, of course. Suslov was the trequartista here, with Juric starting up front, and Ngonj starting on the right, with Mbula starting on the left. They change a lot, this Verona team.
Yeah.
For Lecce, it's pretty much the same team that it is every week. The midfield 3 is a bit different. Odin, Blin, and Gonzalez. Banda was on the right this time, with Sanson on the left, and Kristovic up front. The defense was business as usual, with Falcone in goal as always. Suslov looked interesting for Verona. That was one of the first things I pointed out when I was taking notes for this one. And I also pointed out, bro, and noted that Banda must be the luckiest person when it comes to yellow cards this game. He actually got one eventually this game, but he so often loses his cool, pushes someone or kicks someone or like nudges someone. But I think because he has such a disadvantage with his height that referees actually feel bad for him, man.
I don't think it's that they feel bad for him. Is that keep in mind, if he runs up to you and barges into you. What? It's like Lukaku rested his ass against you. You know what I mean? Yeah. The impact doesn't match the actual pain that is inflicted.
Yeah, it's true. Fair enough, but he should totally behave himself.
Yeah, he starts like extending his leg. He starts whacking his arm out
It was Udon who opened the scoring in the 30th minute. A great goal. There was an uncharacteristical error by Hien, who did it twice in a row, where he just plays a terrible ball down the middle to the opposition. But Udon curled it from outside the area perfectly with his weaker foot, and it had quite a lot of power on it as well, Udon. He's got quite a good shot on him. There was a massive giveaway by Dorgu, and then when Juric found...
How many followers did he get from it?
It took me a while, to be honest. Juric found Ngonj, who slotted it neatly past Falcone from a very, very tight angle. And this was, of course, towards the end of the first half. In the second half, it was Juan Gonzalez who scored for Lecce before Milan. Juric headed home. Filippo Terracciano cross to make it 2-2. There were great saves by Falcone, especially in the second half. There was on a free kick on Ngonj, a fantastic save. Another amazing one on Duda. There was Gonzalez's goal, by the way, took a deflection off of Duda as well. I forgot to mention that. But the finale of this game was action-packed, and it featured Bonazzoli scoring offside as well. It would have been 3-2 for Hellas Verona, who have improved recently. They're starting to get their shit together, while Lecce have regressed ever so slightly, but it is fair to say that they overachieved at the start of the season, and that actually gave them some comfort, because the main objective for a team like Lecce is obviously survival, right?
Yeah, and I mean, what did they do last year to survive? They overachieved in the first half of the season, and then the second half of the season, they weren't so great. They were actually terrible. In fact, I believe I had them coming in, getting relegated this season.
Lecce, right? Yeah. We didn't know that the guys coming in were going to be so good. I think that many actions die with Banda. We actually have a listener question from Alan about Banda and about Lecce playing with two strikers up front, right? Because, Piccoli's been playing well when he comes on. Kristovic is good. So why not change it up? Play two strikers together, give Banda a bit of a break. I think that might be a good idea. Interesting to see if Roberto D'Aversa is flexible enough with that. I mean, this isn't his original 4-3-3. He found that here when he arrived.
Yeah.
So he could easily turn things around. Maybe, deploy a 4-4-2. See how Lecce fare over there. I think characteristically they have the players who would thrive in a 4-4-2 with that solid defense and midfield.
That's what I'm saying. Udon having a bit more of a free role, perhaps, behind the strikers.
Pongracic at the back as well, centre back in a 4-4-2.
Sansone could still be out on the left.
Yeah.
If you need Banda, you can even play him on the wing, get him away from goal though. But there's also Strefezza. You play Strefezza, let's say it's a 4-4-2 or
I think that's more like a 4-3-1-2. You play Strefezza on the whole, maybe, or...
Perhaps. He played as an attacking midfielder towards the start of the...
Because I don't think
season.
The same thing goes for Banda. I think with players like Strefezza and Banda, you can't play them on the right side of a 4-4-2. I think you need more of a physical guy like Venuti or something.
Maybe.
I don't know. It depends on the.
It could work though, at two up front for them.
Yeah.
It could definitely work, even if they're in a situation where they need a goal. They have that option.
They often get the ball into the box. They're not bad at getting there. The problem is it's not always to Kristovic.
Exactly.
But yeah, this was a very entertaining game, characterized by individual errors. As to where they stand at the moment, we've got Hellas Verona in 19th with 9 points, while Lecce are comfortably in 13th with 15 points for now.
Frosinone 2, Genoa 1. Both teams were promoted from Serie B over the summer, and they're both out of the drop zone, so that's nice to see.
Yeah.
I remember, I think in our first season, Mintoff had asked us what can Serie A do to fix this problem of all the Serie B teams coming up, just instantly getting demoted again. How can they fix it? But really, over the past few years, we've seen some newly promoted teams come up and just make a statement, man.
Yeah, it's happening more and more.
And it's happening more and more. We've got Frosinone, Genoa and Cagliari. God bless them. Albert Gudmundsson joined Retegui, Ekuban and Bani on the absentee list, so the Grifone looked to Ruslan Malinovskyi and George Puskas up front, while the Canarini missed Luca Mazzitelli, Kalai and Harrui. So big misses for both teams, especially Genoa with all those injuries.
Genoa, poor guys, man.
Yeah. Frosinone's ambitious build-up play in the opening seconds almost bit them in the ass as Sabelli won the ball and squared it to Puskas, but Okoli did well to slide in and clear the ball off the line. Good to see Okoli getting minutes. He is a player owned by Atalanta, young local centre-back, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of him in the future.
Yeah, that was a mistake by Berenceo on loan from Juventus. Yeah.
Exactly. Frosinone opened the scoring through Sulle in the 34th minute. That was his 6th goal of the season. Madonna. It was a powerful moving strike from outside the area, which went straight through Martinez, who will be extremely, extremely disappointed. Now that's a goalkeeping error.
Yeah.
Good strike by Sulle, but near post. He literally almost had, in that occasion, you put your body behind the ball. And there's no way you concede. If you go to extend yourself or do something like that, like he almost tried to push it out, like he extended his arms and tried to push it out and went through his arms because it was powerful and whatever, man. Just 2 minutes later, Ruslan Masivkovsky finally reminded us what he's capable of. Scoring our goal of the week. Guys, it's tough to describe this goal. It was an unstoppable, powerful curling strike from around 30 yards out, which went straight into the top corner. But before it went into the top corner, it was nowhere near anywhere. It was nowhere near the goalpost. It was nowhere near the keeper. Then all of a sudden, it dips and curls into the corner. Honestly,
I think for a second it was between space and time.
Like the galactic soccer goalkeeper wouldn't have saved it. That weird cardboard cutout of a keeper that goes left and right that only Messi managed to score against wouldn't have saved it. Like crazy. Sturtman off injured at halftime to add to Genoa's injury woes as they were 1-1. In the 66th minute, and then Malinovskyi rattled the crossbar from a free kick, which was set up for a cross. It was from an insanely tight angle out to the right-hand side. He had Turati tangled up in the side netting. This guy, man, you know, Malinovskyi, when he's on and he's confident, he's so fun to watch because he just has a shot, bro.
It's as simple as giving him space. I think most teams have learned not to give him any space. And in fact, he's never had space this season so far. He hasn't been allowed to take these shots. But this time he had a moment. He wasn't even on the ball. He didn't even have possession of the ball. He kicked it out of a teammate's possession.
Crazy, man.
I think maybe that's what he has to do now. Charge to his teammates and kick the ball out of their feet.
Literally. They were neck and neck for the majority of the game at 1-1. Both teams trying. Frosinone kept going despite Malinovskyi hitting the post and this and that. And in the 94th minute, they finally managed to find their winner. It was Ilario Monterisi, the 21-year-old centre-back, who got the winner after a cutback from Brescianini. Managed to get it past the goalkeeper, coming in, sliding in. I like Monterisi. We've highlighted him in the past.
It was his second goal of the season.
Yeah. We probably highlighted him when he got his first goal of the season.
he enjoyed it.
Yes.
He's a good player, Monterisi.
He is, man. He is. Frosinone faced controversy with a potential handling offence by Dragusin, but VAR showed it was just outside the penalty area. That happened throughout the game. I wasn't sure in what minute it happened, so I put it in my talking points.
Very good.
This is Frosinone's 6th result without a loss at home.
That's crazy.
For a newly promoted team, man, to have that home record in your first season in Serie A.
You have two newly promoted teams from the last 2 seasons in the top 10 at the moment.
Madonna.
Monza 9th and Frosinone in 10th.
Madonna, man.
Yeah, the league's getting competitive. I like when teams with good projects get promoted, you know. Frosinone are very exciting. And even Monza, of course, coming up where they were destined for success.
Yeah.
So hopefully it remains a trend, and hopefully, you know, the likes of your Udineses and your Veronas, where there isn't much of a project going on, eventually phase out and new exciting teams come up, like the likes of Venezia, the likes of Palermo. These teams have very good projects going on, and even Bari have a good project.
Yeah, absolutely. Do not sleep on Genoa, even though they just lost to Frosinone. They do have a bunch of injuries. They will be back. They've got such a strong squad. And once these players are back and they get flowing, we can even see them push to get as close to that 10th spot as possible, I think, Genoa. But there's no reason. It's not far-fetched.
I mean, Messias hasn't been in full condition yet. He hasn't been at his best, and he suffered injuries when he arrived. Retegui's been injured. Now Goodmanson was injured this game. So we've been seeing Puskas, Ekuban, you know, not quite good enough.
No.
But their starting 11 is definitely good enough to give anyone a run for their money.
For sure. And we'll see that in the near future. Yeah. I'm confident. When it comes to where they are in the table, Genoa are in 15th on 14 points and Frosinone are in 10th on 18 points. So Frosinone, 18 points, they are only 6 points behind Napoli in 4th. So, you know.
Wild. Cagliari won Monza 1.
last game, right?
Last game. This was an early Sunday treat. Petagna got a start alongside Luvumbo, and it's safe to say, and it's fair to say that Petagna deserved the start because he's been pretty good recently.
Speaking of Sunday treats.
Wow, it's a Sunday roast.
Sunday roasts are fucking delicious, man.
Yeah, they are. 19-year-old Prati started for Cagliari as their regista, and it was business as usual for Monza. Dossena got his second goal in 2 games after a great corner by Viola. There was a good initial header by Goldaniga, but the ball was saved and Dossena tapped in the rebound. The 25-year-old Atalanta youth player who has been impressing ever since those 3 mistakes he made against Frosinone. But then he contributed to the winner. So, you know, what a comeback story. Between the 20th and the 25th minute, Cagliari had 2 penalty calls for handball. They were applying a lot of pressure, and Di Gregorio heroics kept them in the game. Even Colombo had to go back to contribute to the defense. That's how much Cagliari were pressing these guys. Viola gave a free kick in the first half that had everyone celebrating. Everyone thought it went in, but it turns out it hit the side netting. I was particularly impressed by Makumbu. Makumbu's very good. He played really well. He's that player. Remember I described a Cagliari midfielder who's very shifty?
Yes.
Yeah, that's him. He's pretty good. I thought that Birindelli and Colpani were very good for Monza, particularly Birindelli. I saw him give a few balls. I was like, oof, that's a good pass over there by him. Maric got his first ever Serie A goal with a lovely header off of a Kyriakopoulos corner. Maric is a 28-year-old player who was previously on loan at Crotone, where he got 11 goals in 36 appearances. I was going to say 36 assists because I just wrote A because I'm lazy. Bro is from Croatia, by the way.
6'2".
Yes. Smiles and cheers whenever Pavaletti comes on, who came in at the end of the game, and Monza hit the crossbar twice this game. Churia had a particularly close one at the end of the game when Carboni played him through wonderfully. You know, Monza plays such nice, intricate football, man. Such a good team.
They have like Birindelli and Colpani and Kyriakopoulos and Mota. So they have their wing backs and their wingers. They link up with these 1-2s. Sometimes they even bring in the 2 central midfielders, and they set up these little triangles that like Gagliardini, Kyriakopoulos, Mota, or Pessina, Birindelli, Colpani.
Everyone can play on this team. If you look at Carboni, you look at Izzo, who's out at the moment. These guys are very technically gifted. And they have a nice balance, and their team is fantastic. It's young. And they're very exciting to watch. And I look forward to watching them for a while in Serie A.
Same here, man. Same here.
As to where they stand in the table, I always have to buy myself time.
As for where they stand in the table,
Cagliari currently stand in 17th with 10 points, while Monza are in 9th with 18 points.
I think it's needless to say that when it comes to the question segment, we should release another episode to like a 20-minute for the question segment, because obviously a lot happened in this match day, so it's hard to fit that in within the 2-hour time frame, which is what we're trying to stick to, just because logistically it makes everything vis-a-vis distribution much easier, and believe me, much easier. Keeping it under 2 hours.
So we'll upload another mini episode for questions. I'm sure you'll be happy with that. That will be 3 uploads today, by the way, because we uploaded the trailer as well.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so that's that for this episode, guys. Don't forget to, firstly, thank you for dropping ratings, because we got that average back up to 5 stars rather than 4.9. I was gonna kill someone, like. So thank you very much. Don't forget to keep on rating, keep on following, keep on looking out for TikTok and Instagram for our snippets. We're working on some fun ones right now. Thank you, and we will see you all next week.
Cheers, Jeff.
This is Serie A Spotlight. If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
In the football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.